This broadcast has been brought to you by friends and partners of Alfano Ministries International. Thank you for partnering with us today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the 7K Revelation podcast. I'm your host, Marc Alfano, and I have a great guest for you today, coming all the way from South Africa, right, Brandon? You're in South Africa now.
I am, yeah.
Perfect. So Brandon
My
Auret.
hometown.
Yeah, Brandon Auret, right? Am I saying your name
Yeah.
right? Auret,
Yeah.
good. I don't ever want to butcher somebody's name because, my last name's Alfano and I get called Alfonso and all kind of stuff.
Well, actually, it's actually a French surname. The proper way of saying it, but we never use it. I don't think my family's ever used it. Is Auret, which is the French way of saying it. But it's, hip hip, Auret. So
Auret, okay, I like that, Brandon Auret. Perfect.
But Auret is the way we know it in South Africa.
Okay, great. So let me give you a quick intro here to the podcast. A lot of times people ask me, like, how did you come up with this podcast and how did it get started? I've launched it. I've been in business my whole life. God called us into ministry, and, how do you do ministry? Especially, the beginning, it was like obviously my ministry is marketplace evangelism. I teach people how to dominate in their sphere of influence is what you're actually, that's why we have you on here today, because you have a sphere of influence that probably doesn't go to church. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them don't. And, but how do you become the light of Christ in that arena? And so as I was doing these interviews, I went to the Bible and, God showed me where Elijah was like, God, am I the only one out here? And am I the only one left? And God says, no, there's 7,000 others out there that haven't bowed the knee to Baal. And so a lot of times we're in this arena where it looks like, man, there's so much darkness around us. I mean, I came out of the restaurant industry and it was, it can be a very dark industry when it comes to, brutal. Yeah, for sure. And hey, but guess what? We can still be the light of Christ in that arena. Two other things the Lord showed me is in Revelation, it says that they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And I mean, I grew up in around the church and, we sang a lot of songs about the power of the blood, but we never sang songs about the power of your testimony. And in reality, your testimony will set people free, because there's other people who are out there who look at a person like you and they say, man, I'm in this world. It seems so dark. How can I actually be the light of Christ, or how can I invite that into my life? And that's really where your testimony shines through. And then go ahead. And then the last thing the Lord showed me, and then we'll move on. But the last thing the Lord showed me was this. He said, when he was building the tower, when not him, but in Genesis, when he looked down from heaven, when they were building the Tower of Babel, first of all, God says he looked down from heaven and he said, the people are united. They all speak the same language. And because of this, he says they're unstoppable. And what I've seen in the church is very divided amongst denominations and all these different things. And there's all these fractions amongst the church. And really what God has called us to is a spirit of unity. Because, let's look at what unites a person. What unites you and I is the fact that we can agree on the cross, right? Jesus Christ died, he rose again, and he's coming back very, very soon. And that has to be our number one priority. Okay. Yeah. So Brandon, welcome to the podcast. Let's just kick it off. Let's hear a little bit about yourself. Tell me about, even how you came in your world. Obviously you're an actor, you're working in South Africa. On some pretty big projects. I mean, how many films you're doing and all these different things, how does it turn into you actually getting to meet Jesus,
So I grew up in a Christian home. My family were primarily Methodist, from the Methodist side of Christianity. I had a very strong belief. I went to a Catholic school. I went to a Christian Brothers college. So I have a mom who is embedded in faith and is probably my biggest prayer warrior. Became a Christian at a very young age. Got baptized in the Spirit. Got baptized in the water. Started started acting at a very young age, at about the age of 11, not knowing where it was going to take me or anything like that. I finished my schooling in 1990. Went and did in 1991. It was still prescription. You had to go to the army. Uh,
Mm.
we didn't have a choice. Did my national service, and then got accepted into one of the top academically prestigious drama schools, which is the Pretoria Technikon. Did my 3 years there, and then entered the crazy world of entertainment. I spent 10 years doing musical theater and children's theater, and I did 7 years on a very big local kind of daily soap opera. Grew tired of that. It was actually my acting teacher or my acting coach that said to me that, I didn't study or become an actor to spend the rest of my life playing one character, because these daily soap operas you can end up doing for 20, 24, 25 years playing the same characters. Left it. The 2 years after, it was a bit of a struggle, because you become a household name when you do these daily soaps. People look at you and they think that you're a friend, because you've spent all this time with them every night from a certain time to a certain time in their homes. So people associated me with that particular character for many years, and then we went into the film industry, and I the basis of me as a human being, being a Christian, was very difficult for me. It was living with the guilt of not being perfect and still claiming to be a Christian. Was very hard for me. It was very, 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 very hard for me. So I almost spent a lot of my time almost as a undercover Christian.
Mm.
I didn't want anybody to judge my Christianity by the crazy life that I was living. I've been sober now for 14 years. A lot of things got caught up. I got caught up in a lot of what the industry has to offer, but yet I didn't lose my faith. But I didn't want to embarrass Christ by proclaiming Christ, and then with my mouth, and then denying him with my actions in the world. And about 6 years ago, when COVID hit, I ended up, when there was no work, I ended up working at a medical cannabis facility for about 3 years. And I just, one day, I went and I shot Rebel Moon in America just after COVID had happened. And when I was there, God spoke to me. He said to me, you have a destiny, and you have these gifts and these talents that you are not using because you've chosen the easy way out. Go get a job, go do something that you're going to get paid for. And I actually fell on my knees in one of the grow rooms and proclaimed my life back to Christ. And I said to him, listen, I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I'm never going to be perfect. I don't accept that I'm not perfect, but it's an insult to try and live a perfect life, knowing that Christ has already died for me, and that those sins and those transgressions that I had committed were forgiven and are forgiven. Yet in my head, I was still living a sinful life, even though the sin had been forgiven, and I carried that with guilt. I lived a very guilt-like Christian life, and I fell on my knees and I said, God, I've lived my life, I think, within your will, but without your testimony. And I gave everything to Christ. I gave him everything, my life, my family, my imperfections, the imperfections that I still have, the imperfections that I will have for the rest of my life. And God said to me, it's okay not to be perfect, because it's your imperfections that have made me fall in love with you. These are the reasons I do it. This is the reason that my son died on the cross for you, was because you were not perfect. So I fell on my knees in a grow room and proclaimed my life to Christ. And 3 days later, I handed in my resignation, packed my family up, and came down to Cape Town. Throughout that time, I'd met a pastor by the name of Saudi. I mean, I'm sure you know who Saudi is.
Yeah,
Saudi's,
for sure, yeah.
He's
been on the show, actually, yeah.
Yeah. He's been incredibly influential in my life, not just as a mentor, but as somebody who I've been able to turn to in times of doubt, times of wandering, times of things. He's an incredibly good prayer warrior. And I met Saudi. We had a movie that was showing at one of the festivals in Miami, and I called Saudi and said to him, Saudi, listen, man, I know that I proclaim to be a Christian, and but I have literally given my life to Christ, not just blatantly saying, oh, well, I'm a Christian, but I've dedicated it, and I'm going through some tough times now. And he said to me, when you give your life to Christ and you know that you've given your life to Christ, the devil's going to come for you. He's going to come for you harder than he's ever come for you. So it's been a difficult one, because I've had my Christian morals that have always stuck with me. I've always had a certain amount of morals. There's certain things that I would never have done in films, regardless. But those things are even more kind of definite in my life now. I won't, before then I'd maybe done a couple of films that might have had sex scenes in it, or kissing scenes, or scenes that predominantly I would have to explain, oh, but it's just a movie, and in fact that wasn't good enough. I had to make choices with the films that I choose now, and I do a lot of action films. I do a lot of like drama films. So I now, as a Christian, have to make sure that I'm not only representing Christ in my private life, but I'm going to represent Christ with the choices that I make in my film life as well. So that's been my journey, and it's been a tough one. But I live a guilt-free Christian life now. I'm not perfect. God is constantly working in my life every day on certain things, but we're getting there. We really are getting there. And I've literally said to Christ, do as you need to do, and without question, I will do and follow you as you wish. And the devil has had an attack on me in so many different ways. My family's been under attack. My career was under attack, but God said, trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. One thing I'll share with you real quick is I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, you think about the Bible. The Bible was written by unlearned men, really. It was guys who were fishermen. There were murderers. There were adulterers. There were all these different types of people who wrote the Bible. And it relates to the everyday person. If it was written by a scholar, then, the average everyday construction worker couldn't relate to it. And so I see so what I see with you is you're able to relate because of, man, you're an action star. You're not this, Bible theologian, with all these fancy words, but yet the light of Christ can still shine through you and impact people who never would ever come to church. That's marketplace evangelism. That's what that is.
Well, the thing is for me is I'm not scared to talk about Christ now.
That's good.
Even though, the imperfections might be pointed out. And it's great when I'd love to know what the verses in the Bible, but God was sitting with the woman and they were going to stone her, and Christ said to he that is without sin, let them cast the first stone. That had an impact on my life. In such a way, and even I started when I started really dwelling into who God's followers were and who God chose to be his companions. They weren't perfect. They were, like you said, they were misfits.
Yeah, they were.
And like you say, the enlightenment in my life with Christ is that I'm now not scared to talk about my relationship with God, and to talk about my imperfections, and to talk about how those imperfections in my life are actually my beacons. They're the reasons that I get up in the morning, because those are the things that I know that I need to work on. If I was perfect, would I be following Christ? I don't know so much. I wouldn't need a savior. I wouldn't need someone that
that's good.
That guided me, that showed me the way, because you get to a point in your life where you realize how lost you are, and there is a light, and sometimes you don't trust that light because you're surrounded, especially now in our industry, so many spotlights all the time. But God is, at the end of the day, God said to me, trust me, there's your direction, that's where you need to go. How you get there is your choice. If you choose my way, we go this way. If you choose your way, you go that way. But at the end of the day, you're going to end up that way. You're going to end up where I need you to be.
That's good.
Yeah, that was it was enlightening for me to realize that I could be a Christian and come to terms with my imperfections. But Christ also said to me that you need to not accept those imperfections. Go, oh well, I'm not perfect, so be it. No. I'm not perfect. I realize I'm not perfect, but I don't accept that I'm not perfect. And I work on those imperfections with Christ through prayer. And it's not always plain sailing. It's never going to be plain sailing. The devil doesn't want people that are on his side. The devil wants to take out the people that are with Christ, and he goes out of his way to do it. And
Yeah.
but we keep the faith, my brother. We keep the faith.
Yeah, I think the devil, he does three things: steal, kill, and to destroy, and he'll take you out of both sides. I think the difference is on the other side, because you see this a lot in Hollywood and in the music industry, where he'll give them a great run, and they'll have a lot of success, fame, and fortune, but then the candle burns out quickly, and he comes calling for their soul, And I mean, I always go back to like Elvis Presley, an anointed singer. Grew up in the church and around the gospel and loved the gospel music and all this stuff. But obviously the devil came gunning for him because in his 40s he was gone, And so he'll come for everyone, the enemy will. But for us, he likes to buffet us, and especially being a believer. And like we always say, he doesn't give you a free run up the side. I mean, you're gonna deal with it, but in the end, we have the victory. And what I like about, what you were saying is it always reminds me of the story of Samson, because Samson was like almost a total screw up. I mean, like the guy just couldn't get things together, and God used him but I always say you don't need to wait until your eyes get gouged out and you're in prison to be used by God. You know what I mean? So you can make a decision either to do it now, or you can wait. He's still going to use you. It may be after you've had your eyes poked out and it looks like all hope is lost that you have your biggest victory. But you don't want to go that route, So that's really a decision we have to make. And either way, you said, you're going to hit that finish line, and hopefully hit it strong.
And also it's a decision. I mean, we talk about free will, and even when we're walking, I believe we're walking with Christ and in Christ and in the Holy Spirit. We still have free choice, and that's why I say God will get you to the point that you need to be there, and you can choose. You can either. And it's difficult because you are constantly questioning your own choices and your own decisions and your own wants and needs. And at the end of the day, we're human, and sometimes those feelings overwhelm us. Doubt, misunderstanding things, getting caught up with ego and all of that. But I just find that accepting my imperfections has brought me closer to Christ. Knowing that it's not okay to do certain things or carry on with certain things, but knowing that I'm working on imperfections in my life, bit by bit, little bit by little bit. God is making me a little bit more holy, a little bit more faithful, a little bit more. I have a little bit more belief in the things every day. That faith it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows, because as I find my imperfections, as I find myself under attack, I find myself on my knees a lot more often, praying for the things that I'm dealing with. And if I wasn't dealing with a lot of the stuff, I don't know if I would be on my knees that often praying to God, or spending the hour in traffic talking to God, saying, "Listen, man, this is not right. I don't know what to do about this. This is going on in my head. This is going on in my life, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with it or how I'm going to get through it." And my imperfections have opened up my conversation with Christ, because I need to not just deal with them, but I need to understand them as well. So I'm very grateful for those imperfections, because it's a situation where I'm grateful for it, because I don't know if I would have turned to Christ the way I did if had I had a life that was plain sailing and perfect, with all the bells and whistles that come with the perfect life. What I consider to be the perfect life, great men fall, great men of God have fallen. They have, and for me, it's I don't ever want to walk around preaching a holier than thou thing where I'm not holier than thou. I'd rather you and I sit down and we talk about our imperfections, and let's see where Christ takes us, and how that affects our lives. Being a dad of kids and having to deal with teenagers and what that's going through. I mean, that's crazy stuff, because you find yourself going mad because you don't understand what his children are doing, and then God's got to slowly but surely work on those things. And I mean, the last year and a half, to be for an example, it's been very tough on my family, moving away from a secure job and moving back into the film industry and moving into a new town and bringing them all together in one house. It's been a crazy time, and I'm not going to lie. It's made me question so much about myself as a man, but I still have to have faith in Christ and believe that I am where he needs me to be right now, regardless of
Mm-hmm.
everything else that's going around me, of the craziness, of the frustrations that I'm dealing with as a dad and as a partner and as someone who's in the film industry, who's trying to start his own production companies and get my own films produced and stuff like that. And I think that's been the greatest relief for me, is that God has said to me, it's okay to be imperfect.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being imperfect or not being perfect, because those imperfections will work on them bit by bit until we get to a place where I don't stress about my imperfections, but I try and keep my eyes on Christ as much as I can through those crazy times, and when I'm not having crazy times, I'm just very grateful for the fact that Christ has been in my life, because I look back and I think to myself, wow, he's been there all along. Because I've had crazy things happen in my life where situations shouldn't have turned out the way they should have, but had those situations not happened, I wouldn't have ended up where I needed to be. So, hindsight is a beautiful thing. And sometimes we just need to trust the process. Like in filmmaking, you need to trust the process. I need to trust my director. I need to trust that the story that has been written is the right story, and that I'm portraying the right character at that time for the scenario of whatever the script is. And then I take that and I place it back on my life, and I have a director in the Lord Jesus Christ. I have a storyline that I don't know where it's going, but I have this character, and this character is going to go through changes. I'm going to have ups. I'm going to have downs. I'm going to have moments of frustration. I'm going to have all of these emotions in my life. But how do I deal with it?
Mm.
Do I become frustrated and become distant from God, or do I go through these things and still know that Christ is in control? And I think that's been the greatest wake up for me, especially now that I'm very open about my Christianity now. I don't you point fingers at me, come at me with whatever you want. That's cool, man. You don't get to judge me. Christ gets to judge me, and the Lord God gets to judge me one day. And we'll deal with that when we get there. But right now, no human can point fingers at me and say to me, you're blah 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 this and blah 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 that. And I'll be like, yes, I know, but I have the power and the love and the faith that I have a great director in my life, and the director is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and you think about it, like it used to be more sort of taboo, but now you see more actors, even in Hollywood here, that have come out as Christians, like Chris Pratt, Denzel,
Alan Richardson,
Wahlberg. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, the
like you
guy
look
who
at these
plays
guys.
Reacher.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's
So
got a
you
great
see that.
channel. It's called Insta Church that he does, and I mean, I worked with Alan a couple of years ago on a series called Blood Drive. And he doesn't actually realize how much of an influence his Insta Church had on me, because I was like, you are one of the most amazing human beings, and I couldn't understand why he was so gentle, so kind. He was just different. And when it came out that he was a Christian and he had this Insta Church, I realized that I thought, like, that's why you were able to attach yourself to the kind of persona that he was. So, regardless of whether he knows it or not, I became a follower of his church, or in his church, of
Wow,
what he
that's
was
great.
talking. And it really it rang with me, and it was great to know that there were other actors out there that were open about their Christianity, because
Mhm.
it can sometimes be a bit of a thing, sometimes it can be, and I like, no, I don't care. I think my age has got to do with it. I think the older I get, the less I started caring about what people thought about me, thought about my decisions, who I was, what I was doing. Your ego is so fragile when you're younger, and I think the older you get, the more in touch you get with who you are, and the more in touch you get with who you are, that I believe made me closer to God, because I only cared about you know knowing that I was doing the best that I can, and that the rest was in God's hands.
Yeah, yeah. I just was looking at the life of Saul. Saul was anointed king, but then he went after the approval of man. And because of that, he lost his anointing and it was given to David. So, what you're doing is the right move, because who cares at the end of the day, what men have to say about what you do and what you don't do. I mean, if anything, you could be the standard that raises up, that makes a change. I noticed even here, like as a kid, the Christian movies were the worst movies you could possibly watch. I mean, they were poorly done.
We'll talk about that now. Can I just
Yeah.
give me 2 seconds? I just want to. I see my phone. My battery's
Yeah, go
being
for
eaten
it.
up
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
badly. I just want to go grab my phone and we can charge. But that's a very big part of where I think my ministry should go, or where I am as a person is we don't have to accept what's the word I'm looking for? The fact that you're a Christian and we make crappy Christian films. You know what I mean? To me that is something that has been a very, very big part of my life, and my intentions have always been to change that.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
want to tell faith-based films, but faith-based films that are good.
There's a lot of action. There's a lot of action in faith-based films if you do them right. I mean,
Yeah, there
there's a
is.
lot of room for a character like you. you know.
We're working on it, and I mean, and the films that we're trying to get produced at the moment they're not in your face Christian films. If you watch the film and you maybe weren't led by the Holy Spirit, or you didn't understand what the underlying tone to the film is, and I think one of the biggest themes that we have in both of the films that we're trying to get produced at the moment is redemption. Is coming to terms with the fact that you're not perfect, and coming to terms with the fact that you sometimes need to face your own demons to overcome them. Instead of running away from your demons, face them, turn to them, and put on the armor of God and say, "Come, do the best that you can, because I'm ready to take you on. I'm ready to face these demons." And a fight's a fight. Not everybody wins a fight the first time, but we keep on fighting as much as we can.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think about, here in the States, you have Angel Studios and different things like that are starting to produce better Christian content.
Yeah. So I was it was an honor for me to do. I shot two faith-based films already. I did Samson, the actual film
Great, yeah.
Samson, with a company called Boomtown, and Boomtown then did Redeeming Love, which was a great book, and it was about prostitution, and it was set in the 1800s, and it was it was very hard hitting, especially the character that I was playing. He was like kind of like the gatekeeper to all of these prostitutes, and there were scenes that were implied of him raping them and throwing this woman. Yeah, and I kind of went, wow, this is really hectic. But the reality of it is that a lot of if you go through the story of Redeeming Love, is that this is based on a true story. It's based on the facts that it's based on a book, not a true story. It's based on a book that was written by a Christian woman who instead of trying to soften all the edges of the reality of the situation that these prostitutes found themselves in, it was like, this is what they did. This is the reality of it. And the beauty of it was that God can take even that terrible situation that they found themselves in, and can bring them out of it and take them out of it. And like you say, use that testimony to the glory of God.
Yeah, I think that most Christian films, if they were done right, if they took them right out of the scripture, would be rated R plus.
Yeah. No,
I mean, they're pretty violent.
100%. Yeah. But
Yeah.
also, again, a lot of the time, instead of, actually filming, I've always believed this, you don't need to shoot a sex scene. You don't need to film the rape scene. The human being's mind is capable of creating those images without. So set it up, cut it, let the shock of what you think might have happened happen, and then move on from there. It doesn't need to be a visual thing. It doesn't actually need to, and then from that, take the story to where you need to take it. Cut out all of that rubbish, and then, the imagination is an incredible thing, but you don't need to feed the audience that, talking about the rape scene in the movie, it was like, no, he walked in, he loosened his belt, and that's where they cut it. So there was no rape scene, but you knew what his intentions were. You knew where he was going. And I was like, okay, fair enough, but what do we do? And then you read further, and it's how that situation leads to another situation that actually brings the lead character out of out of the situation that she's in, and she finds Christ.
Wow.
And that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I look at it like that very differently. I'm like, yes, okay. I now understand the concept of we can make hard-hitting films with a really beautiful message.
Yeah. Yeah, and then ultimately, what's the plan, to take a film like that and give it an opportunity to actually lead people to Christ? I mean, is it just through the message, or or do ancillary things like like that Insta Church where it's like, okay, people become a follower of you, but then there's other resources that they begin to follow that where they can actually hear the gospel message. You know what I mean? That's the other thing too, is how do you tie that in to the mandate? We're supposed to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every living creature. Jesus said he can't return unless the gospel's been preached to the four corners of the earth. You have a pulpit that no one else really has. I mean, other people do, but I mean, very, very thin air where you're at. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of people who get the position to actually influence and be an influencer like you are. So I think it's really asking the Holy Ghost and saying, hey, how do I tie this into getting the gospel across in my way? You know what I mean? And it's not going to be the same way everyone else does. That's really what my ministry is. My ministry is marketplace evangelism, like I said. And it's, you have that sphere of influence that only you can tap into. And these people they may not show up for church on Sunday morning, but they may be a big lover of what you do. They're into action films. They like what you do. Especially in your country, I mean, it's like, there's probably a lot of young people and different things that look up to you. But then who is it? What's his name? Russell Branson or Brand or whatever his name is over there in Ireland or England. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for when he made when he made that shift over to being a Christian, it's very vocal. I mean, I can't say like if you watched his old films and things like that, you could see the light of Christ, but now that you can, so he has a following, and all of a sudden that following realizes, man, this guy's different. There's been a change in his life.
That to me was also a big thing watching Russell Brand, and I think that I think Joe Rogan's going to be next.
I believe so. It's funny you say that, because in fact, I don't remember who, I think he was like John Rich or somebody. He was doing an interview with the guy, and Joe was like really on the fence. And then he's like, well, what would I have to do to get saved? And then the guy's like, well, I can put you in touch with my pastor. And I'm thinking like, bro, you missed your shot, man. Like, I mean, like if you're a professing believer,
great, man.
Let's just do it. I mean, like, it's that simple. Like, he could have taken 4 minutes of his time and led Joe to the Lord right there on the show, but he chose to say, well, let me bring my pastor in. And that's really where we're weak. A lot of times people aren't equipped with when they're pushed up against the wall and they're saying, okay, you need to lead this person to the Lord right now. How do you do it? You know what I mean? And that's where our ministry comes in. It's really to help people to know what to do and how to do it, so that you can be in your sphere of influence. And when that opportunity arises, you take advantage of the opportunity, and not in a weird way. No,
100%. I mean, the funny thing that when I started becoming more vocal about my Christianity, it's amazing how many other people I could have that open conversation with, regardless, religions put aside. We would talk about religion as opposed to talking about something else. Religion would be a topic that was used in conversation where sometimes it was avoided, but now it's like, well, let's talk about your religion. Let's talk about what you believe. I'd like to find out what you believe, and then we'll talk about what I believe. And if we find a common ground, then so good. But if we don't, cool. You speak, I speak. It's now become a topic. I'm really not scared to. And what I find is a lot of times I don't even have to initiate it. It'll just come up in a conversation. I'll be like, okay, this is where we're going with this conversation. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Which I think sometimes didn't really happen because we had, I don't know, like I said, being undercover was never the best thing that I did. But God lifted that veil.
Well, he honors you. I mean, he honors you for that, because I was in the same boat. I grew up in the church, and then whenever I was running with the world, I never really wanted people to know that I was a professing Christian because of the example that I was. I would actually probably take more people to hell with me if they knew that, like, this guy's a Christian, but look at the way he's acting, and it would have been their excuse to act the same way. And so a lot of times there would be opportunity to profess my faith, and I chose not to because it was like, I'm not living the life. And until I knew I wasn't living the life. Until I got my life straight, I think it would have been a really bad witness to say, yeah, I'm a Christian, but then they say, yeah, but you drink and you're acting stupid and you're doing all these crazy things. And so if you're a
Not
Christian,
that
how come I
drinking's
don't
a
see it?
sin.
Yeah.
Alcohol. I mean, I haven't. I've been sober from alcohol for, well, I want to say 14 years, but it's probably more about 13 or 12 years if I take into the fact that I had a bad breakup with a girl and went back to drinking for like 6 months, but I was pulled out of that very, very quickly. When I when my first daughter was born, she changed my life. It was the biggest thing. I didn't touch alcohol for 4 years after that, and I had a very bad breakup and felt sorry for myself, and went to hang around with a friend, and the Jack Daniel's bottle was open. I was like, stuff this. I'm gonna, but in, the consciousness or the guilt of that was upon me. And it said, no, 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 no. Regardless of what you're going through, this is not the spirit that you should be partaking in. So slowly but surely, the Lord has broken down all of these boundaries, and He is breaking down boundaries. In my relationship with my fiance, with my relationship with my kids, there's still issues. We're still human. We still get angry. We still get frustrated. We still sometimes act out and say and do things that we know are not right. But having the savvy and the want to go back and apologize and say to my wife or my kids, hey, sorry, it was a moment of weakness. I lost my cool. I got angry. Please forgive me. I am working on certain things. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the situation. Let's talk about what led us to that point, why I got upset, why you got upset, why are you frustrated, what is it that you really want and need. And I give all the glory to Christ. I have a prayer before every show, whether I'm doing stage or whether I'm doing film. And it's so weird because I always, growing up, for me, the story of the 3 talents, the boys with the talents and the father handing out the talents, I didn't realize that talents were actually coins. In my head, they were talents. They were, you play guitar, you sing, you tap dance, and these were the talents. And I always say this, and this has been my prayer for many, many years, even back in the day when I was undercover Christian. Like, you've blessed me with talents, and I honor you with my performance.
That's
because you have given me these talents, and I want to use them, and I want to use them in the right manner. And if I use them, I believe, and I honor you with them, I believe that I will get more talents. But if I take those talents and I don't use them for the glory of God, they will be taken away from me.
That's good.
So I've lived my life with that. So I'm very aware of my shortcomings, of where I fall short of living the Christ life. But I now have, through Christ, I have the ability to acknowledge them first of all, take custodian of these faults that I have in my life. They are now my problem. It's not, but you. I know what my problems are. I know what my situations are. I know that I may sometimes get very angry very quickly. And anger is something that's been quite prevalent in my life for a very, very long time. Frustration, but little bit by little bit, God tweaks them. He puts me in situations where I know I'll get angry, and He's like, okay, let's see you get angry now or not.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. I mean, I grew up in the restaurant business. I always said I was like Gordon Ramsay. You know what I mean? Like I had a pretty long fuse, but when the fuse hit, it was pots were flying and all that was, it got pretty intense,
You're
and
human.
Yeah,
You're human.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question about this. Being an actor, a lot of times people look at actors, they see you on the screen and they think, oh man, this guy's that particular character. Or a lot of times we think, man, these guys are filthy rich and they're living this big high society life. And because that's the perception of it, but there's the actual reality of it. I mean, I don't remember, I was watching some show and they were talking about this actor out in Hollywood that everybody knew. But at the time, he was like putting up billboards in Southern California for a living. Like, I mean, here's a guy you've seen on the screen. You're like, man, this guy's got it going on. But the reality of it is, it's not always as easy as we think. Because you're just like anybody else. Like when they say cut at the end of that film, you're basically unemployed until the next film comes along.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So how do you deal with that? Where the perception is one thing, but the reality sometimes is something else. How do you walk that line as of
I
life?
don't put out the perception that I'm that celebrity or that actor. I'm
Okay.
very clear about the fact that I'm a family man. My family comes first overall, and that what I do for a living is a job. God has blessed me with these things, but at the end of the day, it's a job. And yeah, man, I've had to do all kinds of stuff and hustle, yeah, and do other things other than acting to keep my family fed and to keep a roof over head. But I'm by no means am I financially stable. By no means am I living the high life. By no
Mm.
means. I live in a very moderate home. I live with my family. For me, it's as long as I can keep food on the table and a roof over my children's head and keep them in school, or you know, I'm winning. You know what I mean? That's what it is. And generally, I am the person that I am at home. That's who I am out there as well. I don't live a life of exclusivity, and I don't go to the celebrity parties. I don't go to the A-list parties. I just don't do that. And even when I am there, I'm not there for very long. I'm in and out. Hi everyone, nice to meet you. Okay, cool, and I leave. It's not the reason I became an actor in the first place. I never wanted to be famous or yeah, sure I wanted to make money. Sure, everybody wants to
Sure.
make money and wants to be rewarded, but that was never the reason. Like I said, when I left the series on TV, uh, my intention was to make one film. I just wanted to do one film,
Wow.
and I did it. And the bug bits, I think I'm busy shooting a movie. It's in a series of movies that have come out over the last couple of years. I'm not too sure if I can mention it because it hasn't been put out there yet. But it's a whole bunch of action films. Um, it's my you would think that after 67 films I'd be a multi-millionaire, but I'm nowhere close to being a multi-millionaire. You know, I'm just very grateful that I get to give my family a mediocre life, um, and my wife can stay at home and look after the kids, and we have dogs and we've got animals. We've got a nice home. It's nothing spectacular, but it's perfect for us. Um, and I just think that sometimes, especially with social media, that people tend to portray a life that they don't have, and then it's a lie because it makes other people believe that that's what it is and that's what they strive for.
Sure.
I just wanted to act. I did my first semi-professional show at the age of 11, and I knew from a very young age this is what I wanted to do. I watched Return of the Jedi. Was one of the first films that I became obsessed with. It's still my number one film of all time. It's the film that made me want to become an actor, and I didn't look at it as what I was. Oh, look, I want to be that dude, and I wanted to be a Jedi. I wanted to have a lightsaber. I wanted to do what he was doing. Um, so I think we need to be very careful about, and I think that's also it's living the honest life. I don't go out there to try and portray to the fans or to anybody out there that I'm anything special. There's nothing special about me. There's it. It's a job. I love my job and I'm grateful for the job that I have. But I'm a working dad. I have a
Sure.
family to feed. I take my kids to school, and sometimes because you're on screen, a lot of the times, yeah, people come up to you and they're a bit kind of taken aback, and then once they meet me, it's like, oh hey, they're slapping me on the back and like high fiving me and fist bumping me because it's not because of who they think I am, but because of me bringing them back to reality and saying, hey, listen, man, don't get the wrong idea about who I am as a human being or as a person. This is what I do for a living. It's a job.
No, that's good. Yeah, you got to keep grounded. Now, what would you say percentage wise is that of actors have actually hit that high level? I mean, you think it's a big number, or you think it's a small number?
2%, 3%.
Yeah,
It's a very, very small amount of people that are out there earning the millions and earning all of that
sure,
stuff. I think a lot more actors are earning more money from social media. They're now being social media influencers than what they do actually doing the groundwork. I mean, a funny thing happened, and it really irked me up was that when you go to an audition, and one of the questions was, how many followers do you have? So they're now
mm,
basing your talent on how many followers you have.
wow,
When a lot of the times those followers are following a false impression, and I'm just not prepared create a false narrative to get fans. It's like, don't judge me as a human being. If you're going to judge me, judge my work, and that's my work.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we deal with that too, even in ministry. People want to know what you're following, but the thing is you could fake it. I mean, there's ways of working the algorithms to get more followers and things like that, and putting out certain types of content that hit the right type of people to get the right subscribers and followers. But in reality, it's like Facebook. 5,000 friends, and I know 3 of them. You know what I mean?
Correct. Correct.
How much influence do you really have on somebody, and how many people are actually seeing the content that you're putting out and things like that? So really, it boils down to what is eternal. What's eternal? All this stuff that we build is a lot of times wood, hay, and stubble. I listened to an old Bible teacher, and he was a big time. His name's Chuck Missler, but he was big time in like the government, and he was a designer for Ford Motor Company and had all these amazing things. So he said on one wall he had all these achievements hanging, and then on the other wall he had everything he did for the ministry and all the souls that he won and the crusades that he did. And on the one side he put wood, hay, and stubble. On the other side it was gold and precious metals and fine gems and things like that. So reality, what is it that we do that carries over for eternity? Everything else is just making a living so we can make it to the finish line. And the other thing too is it's crazy. I just saw how Gene Hackman passed away, and his wife and their dog. And to think about, this guy was, I mean, like growing up, the guy was in every movie I ever saw. And here he is, he's 95 years old and he's home alone with Alzheimer's. His wife dies, and then he basically probably starves to death because no one knows. I mean, how does that even happen to somebody like that? Because the reality of it is that when he said cut on his last film, he went into wherever, you see
that it's that isolation. It's that if you create that persona, and I must be honest with you. I had a touch of that amount of fame when I was doing the TV series, because literally it was the #1 TV series in South Africa, and I was on there for 7 years. I played a really, really cool character. Everybody loved the character. I was involved in everybody's story. I was like basically the town sheriff. I played this cop who was literally involved in everybody's life. So I was in A story, B story, C story. I was literally everywhere, and he was a good guy, and he was a policeman because he believed in what he was doing was what he was meant to do. So he really, I mean, I even had like real-time policemen inviting me around to say, hey man, we're gonna go do this, don't you want to join us? Come in, it'll be good for moral. It's cool, having sitting down with my mom or my friends, and somebody just pulling up a chair and sitting down and saying, hey, it's very, I got a taste of that, and to be honest with you, it's not really what I wanted. I don't recognize me for what you think the celebrity status is. It's like, if you want to come and talk to me, let's talk about my films. Let's talk about your films. Let's talk about your favorite films and why they're your favorite film, and what you liked about the films that I did, what you hated about my characters, what you loved about my characters. That's the kind of conversation I want to have. And hanging around in the high end celebrity scenario, those conversations a lot of the time are not about how are you, but what are you up to? Who are you working with? And it's like, cool. It doesn't really matter, man. I don't care as long as you're happy, you're loving what you're doing, and you're healthy, and cool. It doesn't matter. I don't care, dude. I really, really don't care. I get very excited when my close friends are in the film industry that are getting roles and they're doing really well for themselves. I'm the first person to run across them and say to them, good job, go for it. Because I know how difficult the industry is, and I want my friends to be successful. I want my friends to be happy. And the industry can be it's cutthroat, man. It's really, really, it can be really, really cutthroat. The whole idea of it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah, it's true up to a point, but I know God.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, there's a lot of parallels even to ministry. I mean, it can get to be like that. Where if you don't know the right people or you don't have the right connections and things like that, where if you have to be very strong in who you are as a believer, and know that God called you, and no man ever called you. It's God that put you in the position that you're in. It's not a man, and He's going to see through. If you try to do it by the arm of the flesh, it goes nowhere. You know what I mean? So you have to just rely on Him and relax in it.
Yeah, we do, but we still need to stand in faith of the word. It's like
100%. Yeah.
I had a friend of mine. So when I was younger, I mean, I even did Christian shows. I did a show called Jade Company, which is Jesus' company, and I played all these biblical characters, like um, Jonah. It was like I would play Jonah, and where are you off to? None of your business. There was bringing all of these characters in that, and there was a guy at that time. He was like Mr. South Africa, a guy called Shalkoot, and I will never forget the day he said to me, Brandon. He says to me, "You need to strap on the armor of God.
Mm.
You need to make sure that everything is closed up so that there are no weak points. And the only way you're going to do that is through the word of Christ and through the word of the Bible and understanding the Bible, because he says you're running into war with the devil and this crazy world, but you've got pieces of your armor obviously flapping off here. And he says to me, you've got to strap on the armor of God, not just put it on. You've got to strap it on. And I think that's what made me realize that I was living a crazy life, because I had pieces of armor that were open and they were showing vulnerable spots. Whereas strapping on the armor of God is what he said to me. He said to me, and that doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
You've got to. You got to
work the word for sure.
You got to work it.
That's right. Yeah. So what would you say was your biggest movie that you were involved in, or one that you're the most proud of or excited about that you did?
So, meeting Neil Blomkamp and doing District 9 and Elysium and Chappie, those were the big three films that changed the course of my career from a wannabe actor breaking into the industry to breaking into the industry. Rebel Moon was a big movie for me as well. But from an actor's point of view, character-wise, I did a very low-budget indie movie called Durban Poison, based on a true story that happened in South Africa. It was about two couples, and I love the story because, if you're looking at it from the aspect of it being a film, it was about two couples that went on this killing spree. But at the end of the day, if you look very deeply, it was about a man who really, really loved the woman that he was with, and he was really, really trying to make their lives better. And it was like $100,000 film, and I'd shot quite a big film before that. I think District 9 was the film that I shot just before that. So, and it was very clear to me then that the budget of the film didn't determine my intention in the film. If it was a $285 million film, you were getting 100% from me. If I was doing a $100,000 film, you were getting 100% from me. That's how I knew that I was on the right track as an actor. I've had films that have influenced my career. Like I said, Neil Blomkamp has probably been the most influential. His films really elevated me into the public eye and gave me a springboard into the international market, because then all of a sudden I was available to the international market and not just a South African actor. But when it comes to films and directors that have influenced me personally, I was doing a movie called Night Drive it was my third or fourth film that I was doing. It was a horror, and it was about a group of couples that were on this night drive in South Africa, in the bush, and they then get attacked by the hyena man, who actually turns out to be somebody that they know, and it's about body parts and being sold off into the black market and into that's a big thing in Africa, is the witch doctors and the use of body parts in their mood team.
Wow.
And when I was at drama school, film was never a big influence on us. Yes, we did stage acting, and being in the moment and the presence of the moment and stuff like that. But there was the film industry wasn't really that big when I was studying drama. Hopefully, at these drama schools now that they've implemented film into it, because the film industry in South Africa at the moment it's exploding. It's massive, and it's pretty cool. But Justin changed my entire concept about being an actor in film and not judging the character and reacting and playing those moments. So if you're going to ask me influentials, I've had, I think every film that I've done has influenced me in some way. Every director that I've worked with in some way has changed my life. Justin changed my perception of acting in film compared to the acting in acting on stage and that kind of stuff. And Neil Blomkamp was, excuse me, he was a massive influence in my career, and Justin was a massive influence in me as an actor. But
Would you say that, good.
Sorry.
No, I was going to ask you, would you say, obviously, because like when you're on stage, it's like start to finish a story, but when you're filming, I guess they could be filming different scenes out of order. Is it harder for you to get a flow of what the character's doing whenever you're filming on a film? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And
yes.
Also, the thing about stage is it's something in the air. There's instant gratification in film, on stage.
Yeah.
You do the play, you step out, to get the applause, you walk away. We had a great night. We got a standing ovation, or they hated us. So you get that instant feedback, and a lot of people love that. But with film is you shoot a film, you believe you've done the best that you can, and then 2 years or a year later, the film comes out, and it's either a hit or a flop, regardless of what your opinion was. So it's every genre in our industry has its ups and downs, but I love being on a film set. It's a happy place for me to be on a film set. I love the process that we go through, costume fitting, changes, moving from one set to the other, working with a stunt team, then you work with a special effects team, the pre-production. Like now with this film that I'm working on now, we had a couple of days with with an ex-South African parabat, with an ex-British army guy. I'm not sure who he served with. I want to say it was one of their special forces, but I'm not too sure about that. But we got to learn different weapons. We get to learn different situations, different scenarios, working with different stunt teams, different special effects teams. But in saying that as well, is the film industry is very, very small in this country. It's very vibrant, but it's very small. So I get to work with a lot of people that I get to work with quite a lot. Directors, producers, assistant directors, stunt guys. I've gotten to really, really fall in love with the stunt team. Say hi.
Hi.
Getting to work with the stunt teams and realizing that, of all the action films that I've done, in Elysium, they needed to use my stunt guy because of the laws in labor. But I've generally not used any of my stunt doubles as frequently as I should. And I think I'm getting to a point in my life now where I'm going to, because the older you get, it hurts now. It doesn't take me 2 days to recover and get going. Now it takes me. We did a 14-hour fight scene on Friday, and it's now Thursday, and I'm still recovering. Wow. I'm still limping. I've still got the bruises. So the aspect of filmmaking is really become the main reason for my talent to be shifted. We're working on our production company is going to be moving to Mauritius. We're going to be shooting a lot more films in Mauritius, and I want to give other people the opportunity to go through what I went through when it comes to being an actor in film, because it's so rewarding. It's hard, but it's very, very rewarding. Go ask Mom. She'll sort you out. I'm busy. Thanks, baby.
So what is it like? I know in the music industry there's a residual. You make a song, you get paid forever, or unless you're the contracts, different. So how's it like in the film?
No, my American films. If I do a SAG film, I get my residuals. I am very, very grateful for those. But we have just the South African Guild of Actors, which is the South African SAG, have just won a court case, and it's been withheld from us for many, 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 many years, because a lot of our films get to make it overseas. A lot of our films and our productions that we do here are sold off to other different countries or other regions, stuff like that. And it's been something that the South African Guild of Actors has been fighting for the last 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years, as far as I know. And the court ruling came through right now that things are going to change, and we're going to be more in line with the international rules of filmmaking, and then there will be residuals, and there will be all kinds of stuff that happen. But the music industry has been like that for a very, very long time. They've had a very, very strong union that's looked after them. We haven't had a union. We've we kind of fall under the precedent of part-time workers and not individual businesses, because
Yeah.
as an actor, that is my business. I am my product, and I have a company that represents me. I have an agent that represents me, and they're accepting the agent but not the company that represents me. So now it's a matter of, yes, I actually am a marketable entity, and that entity needs to be rewarded wherever that entity is used. And so my work and what I do as an actor, if it's taken out of our region into another region, there has to be some kind of payback. So we've just they and I say we because most of the actors got behind all of this, have said yes, enough is enough, and we've taken it to the High Court, and the High Court has granted us a 5-year, almost like a 5-year trial period to make sure that because I mean, if you don't have things in place, certain producers, certain films, they can take advantage of the fact that, oh well, we're not going to use you because we can't afford you. Now it's a matter of like, this is the standard payment that you get. So now it's about who's the most talented, not who's the most affordable.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I had a friend one time in the music business, and he said there's like the writers get paid residual. There's certain things but he said there's some guys that just get paid to perform. And he said if you ever seen a band that they're like 90 years old and they're still touring, it's because they didn't own the rights to a lot of their music, and so they have to go
correct,
out and perform all the time. So residual
correct.
income is huge, especially when you're doing action roles and things like that are
Yeah.
beating up your body. I mean, unless you're like Stallone and you're still making action films at what is he, 80 years old now?
and still looks amazing. He's one of my favorite actors. So, people have said to me, what are my most influential films?
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like, what's your favorite genre of music? I love all genres of music. I love all genres of filmmaking. I'm a massive fan of B grade horrors. I love B grade slasher films. But as an actor, the films that influenced me the most, and I think had a big part of the decisions that I made in life, like I said, Return of the Jedi will always be my number one film. It's the film that had the biggest impact on me as a kid. I mean, I still remember as clear as day. I was sitting in the lounge with a couple of my friends, and their family. They'd come to South Africa from England, and they still had family in England, and their family in England was sending them over all the Star Wars figurines and the Death Star and the X-wing fighters and the TIE fighters, and they had Luke Skywalker in A New Hope and in Empire Strikes Back, and then they had Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi, and we were in the lounge playing, and then I looked up and Return of the Jedi was on TV, so the movie was playing, we were playing with the figurines, and I kind of went, I was attracted to what was happening, and I kind of said, that's what I want to do. Oh, you want to be a
Wow.
Jedi Knight? Yeah, no, tell me who doesn't want to be a Jedi Knight, but that's what they're doing, that on TV. That's, I was, and as, growing up, I couldn't understand. I'm sure my mother understood, but my punishment was take the TV away. You're not watching
Yeah.
Knight Rider. You're not watching Airwolf. You're not watching the A-Team. You're not going to watch Magnum. And that drove me mad, because Friday night for me was the night that was the most important night during the week for me, because we had MacGyver, Knight Rider, Airwolf, A-Team, and then on a Saturday we had Magnum, and those were the films that I was like, yeah. So Return of the Jedi was the seed was planted when I was watching Return of the Jedi, but then Rambo, First Blood
Yeah.
is my second favorite movie of all time, followed by Platoon, followed by
Yeah. Great movie.
I have a range of films. Clockwork Orange is one of my favorite films of all time. Uh, there's just so many, but I have favorite films in genres, but my 3 favorite films of all time is definitely Return of the Jedi, Rambo: First Blood, and Platoon. Those are the movies that I watched relentlessly as a kid. I mean, I can't. If you ask me how many times I've watched Return of the Jedi, I don't have a number. How many times have
Sure.
I watched Rambo? I don't have a number. And the nice thing about it is now when I go and watch them again, I see how many of those actors in those films were up and coming, were background actors. I mean, Platoon has got River Phoenix in it. It's got Johnny Depp in it. It's got William Dafoe. It's
Yeah.
got it, it's just crazy to see how. And it's weird because in my life as well, I always played the smaller actors in the background, and slowly but surely, I've been working my way up to playing the lead bad guy, or the second lead bad guy, or one of the bad guys in the main unit and stuff like that. So, and the weird thing is, I play all these bad guys in all of these crazy films. I never get nominated for anything. Then I do a series in South Africa called Still Breathing, where I play like it's the normal dude, like a father who's having issues with he's trying to open up a bar, and his best friend has died, and his other best friend is having an affair with somebody else, and he's got 2 kids, and him and his wife are having issues. And, I get nominated and I win Best Actor. It's basically, it's the same as the Oscars in South Africa. I get nominated for that and I win it. And I'm like, so that's what I got to do to get nominations? Not that it matters, but I was like, but I've done all of these other crazy stuff, these other crazy films where I've gone through pre-production. I mean, in Chappie, I was on a pre-competition diet. I was in the gym 3 times a week, 3 times a day. I was allowed to eat any dairy. I was allowed to have any sugar, and like for 9 weeks before the shoot, and I put on weight, and I looked really amazing, and I had this crazy, incredible character, and it was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's
I
funny.
played the
Good
normal
job.
guy. I played the everyday kind of dude. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's playing a normal dude. Let's give him the award for that. And I'm like, oh.
Wow. Yeah, it's also nice to see when an actor can kind of come out of their box, Like I saw Owen Wilson had that movie No Escape, which seemed like
Yeah.
so out of the realm for
Yeah.
what he normally would do, He always had
And
this fun-loving character,
Yeah, it's important. It's always been very important for me because I've always loved the character actors. Brad Pitt to me is, to this day, still one of the finest actors that there were. But so is William Dafoe. So is
Yeah.
I mean, people go Sylvester Stallone. I mean, you look at him. You look at Sylvester Stallone in Copland.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to all the other stuff that he does, and it's just, I think give the right actor the right part at the right time in his life, and he will create something really, really amazing. I look back at some of my films now that I'm old and I've experienced life. I kind of go, I get it. I mean, would I have been able to pull off the part in Still Breathing had I not been a father? I don't know if I could have pulled it off because, the character had a wife and he had 2 children. And they were going through family dilemmas, influenced by outside dilemmas as well. And had I played that part maybe years before I had children, I don't know if I would have brought that substance into that character, because I was basing a lot of that on the knowledge that I have as a dad, and how would I as a dad react in that situation. Okay, cool. That's how I would react. Now, how would the character react in that situation? Would he be do the same thing as me, or would he be playing the opposite? How would he? So now I had something to compare my character to. Whereas a lot of the times I'm thumb sucking how I think the character would act. Yes, I get involved in the characters, and I have backstories for all of my characters, and I really get involved. Like I've always said, I take what I do very seriously, but I've never taken the film industry very seriously. And I think maybe that's why I've never fallen into that celebrity status, is that I'm not here to be a celebrity. I'm not here to be invited to all the A-list parties. I mean, I used to go and I used to do it, and eventually it was just like, this is not for me. So, yeah, I've had the most amazing career, and I've been blessed with an amazing talent that hopefully, like you say, it gets to a point now where God has used me and my talent to reach out to the world, and if I change one person's life, then I've made a difference, and hopefully that's happening.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So let me ask you an off topic. It's on topic, but just kind of extra question. So did you see Top Gun 2, the new Top Gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maverick.
What do you think about the parallel to the way they had to drop the bomb to the Star Wars, where they had to blow up the Death Star? It's almost like verbatim, the exact same thing,
Yeah, man. Look, you got to come in at a certain angle. You got to avoid the cannons. You got to say,
yeah.
I didn't think of it like that. Now that you mention it, yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Yeah, I was thinking about it'd be cool to make a cut where it's like the Star Wars and then him together. You can make a little parody flick on that.
That's an incredible observation. That's an incredible observation. Look, I'm a fan. I'm a massive fan of those kind of films. During the time of making it, there was another movie another airplane movie that came out. I didn't really remember the movie Iron Eagle.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So, I I watch films. I love watching films. I have an incredible, and this is going to give away my age, but I'm 52. I have
Yeah,
the most amazing DVD collection.
yeah,
I still have things on DVD, and I still go and watch. I'm trying to get my family to watch, DVDs. They come. This is a good movie. Usual Suspects, one of the best movies ever made.
yeah.
Oh, you want to watch a good trilogy? Here's Die Hard. Oh,
Mm,
Lethal Weapon. You know what I mean? So I have all of those. Beverly Hills Cop. I have all of these crazy films on DVD, and they're not just in a box somewhere. They're in the cupboard underneath my TV.
yeah,
Hoping that one day my
yeah.
family will sit down with me and say to me, "Hey, Dad, can we watch some of your films with you?"
Oh,
My
that's
old
good.
age.
They will. You know what's funny is I used to watch. We had the DVD player. And I'd put in like Rocky, for example, and then at the beginning they'd have a trailer for Top Gun. So I'd say, man, pop out Rocky, put in Top Gun, and then the trailer would be for Braveheart. So I'd switch off over to Braveheart. Ended up watching that. So it's funny.
Yeah,
We grew up watching it, and also I love the same shows you love, man. That was awesome. Stringfellow Hawk and MacGyver and all that stuff, man. Knight Rider and the Incredible
love
Hulk and all
them,
those things.
love them. Like what people don't understand. One of my favorite films of all time is RoboCop, the original RoboCop.
Yeah, good
Um,
movie.
great film. Very gritty, very, very, very realistic. You know what I mean? It was a fantasy film. It was a sci-fi film, but it was real. It was. I believe that was viable. It was something that to me made sense. And I loved the original RoboCop 1 and number 2. Um, you know, um, I was hoping that I think at one stage Neil Blomkamp was going to do a revamp of RoboCop, and I was really hoping he would do it because I love him as a filmmaker. I love his ideas. I got to work with Neil Blomkamp quite a bit, other than the big films that I did. He did the Oates series, where he had a whole bunch of short films that he made under his company Oates, and I got to do some. I got to work with Sigourney Weaver, which is,
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
man, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and she was just one of the most amazing human beings. It turned out that we both came from the same kind of area. Our families, our lineage, and her lineage went to the United States, and my lineage came to Africa from France. So
Wow, that's
it was
amazing.
great. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
amazing, and it's so nice for me. I mean, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of these people. They're still my heroes. Meeting Matt Damon and meeting these people and getting to spend time with them other than just on set, off set as well. It just instilled in me more more like just I adore them as
yeah,
actors, and I adore them as people as well now, because I got to know, when you meet these actors, they are up their noses, and I've yet to meet any of these A-list celebrities that have treated me any different, and it's
that's
been
good.
amazing. I've gotten to work with some of the most amazing actors. I got to work with some of the most amazing directors, um, and I'm very grateful. I think the biggest thing for me leaving the industry and coming back into the industry after taking 4 years break was a heart of appreciation, and
Yeah,
just realizing how lucky and how blessed I am to have the career that I have, and to be given the opportunities that I've been given, and for that I will always be grateful. I have a heart of gratefulness now. Every day that I'm on set, I'm very grateful. Thank you, God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for this moment that you've given me in my life. And I apologize for the times that you have given me the opportunities, and I've kind of just wished them away because, oh no, I could do that part better. I could do that part better. Oh no, I'm much better. That's no longer a part of my life. I'm here to do what I need to do, and I'm an individual. There's nobody else like me in this world, and I'm here to do what I can do the best that I can, and not uh compare myself to anybody else ever again.
that's
Ever,
good.
ever, ever again.
Yeah, you can see like obviously your age and what you've been through that you really appreciate what you got.
Yeah,
Question.
appreciation. That's what it is, a heart of appreciation.
Yeah,
I'm very
you can
appreciative
see
of
it.
it now.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. So
Oh,
two more
thanks.
things, two
Yeah.
more things, and then we'll wrap it. So the next thing I do is I always ask people for advice. So like if you were starting out fresh or you were talking to somebody just breaking into your industry, what's some advice you would give to somebody just getting started out?
That's a very good question. Do everything. Just do everything. Every film, every student film that I did, every low budget film that I did, every big budget film that I did, every little crappy little stage show that I did, or the great stage shows that I did, because I did a lot of musicals. I toured all over South Africa with some big musicals, the Buddy Holly Story, Summer Holiday. I got to tour with some of the biggest stage artists as well. Maybe at the time I wasn't happy because it's just not really what I want to do. I'm only using this as a stepping stone. Like, yeah, see it as a stepping stone, but see it as education. It's free education, man. Being on, I still after 32 years of being in the industry and having a list of films and having a list of stage shows, there's not a day that goes by that I'm on set that I'm not learning something or not experiencing something new. And I think the more you do, the more you experience, the better you become. Because I truly, and I've said this to, and I don't know if I've mentioned it. I've said to the actors that I worked with now, you're not being paid for your talent. Your talent is a gift from God, and that is for free. You're sharing your talent for free. What they are going to be paying you for is your experience, your reliability, your consistency. So work on those things. If you're going to be good, be consistently good. If you're going to be on time, be on time all the time. Just become reliable, become consistent in your work, and steer away from being a prima donna. There are too many
That's
prima
good.
donnas who come onto set and I want this and I need this and I want, filmmaking is problem solving from day one to the last day that you're filming it. Even afterwards, it's problem solving. It's a rainy day, or this equipment isn't available, or the tools have gone down. The last thing a director and a producer needs is an actor that needs to be solved. I will never, ever, ever, ever be a problem that a film set has to solve.
Yeah.
And be nice to people. It's be friendly. And again, this is something that I learned from Neil Blomkamp. Neil would walk onto set and know everybody's name, from the person that makes his coffee to the person that is at catering. And I said to him, it's really quite an eye opener to see that everybody. I mean, you walk past in the morning, you get your coffee, and you thank that person by name. And he was like, "Well, that's the person that starts my day. I come
That's
and get my
good.
cup of coffee. That's the person that starts my day." And I was like, "Wow, okay,
Yeah.
be nice,
No, that's good. Down to
be
earth,
kind."
grounded.
It doesn't
Yeah.
cost anything to be kind. It doesn't mean that things are always going to be okay. And yeah, we have moments where but let's reset and reevaluate and then redo. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my advice is just go out there, do what you can, where you can, however you can, every day, every job that you get, even if it's a high paying job, low paying job, those are gifts. You got to take those gifts and make the best of it that you can, and be kind to each other, because the film industry is it's not a kind industry at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what about like film school or anything like that? I mean, do you recommend if somebody's getting started out to say, do you need to go to film school, or in today's world, do you just start where you're at with what you got, sort of thing?
That's I think that's a personal decision. I have worked with actors that are phenomenal that have never attended an acting class.
Mm.
And I think that sometimes attending acting classes can lessen their talents. Some people need to refine talents. Sometimes you need to, you can practice the wrong thing perfectly.
Yeah,
They
that's
would say
good.
practice makes perfect, but you can practice the wrong thing perfectly. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, the best education, and I've seen this, I've even seen it with some stunt guys that are now transitioning into acting, is that they've spent all this time as stuntmen watching and learning on set and going, I can do that. I can get that. And doing really
Mm.
well for themselves.
Yeah.
So, that I was very blessed that I went to a great drama school, and I ended up working with one of the top acting coaches in South Africa. And the weird thing is that when I left the college and I went into the real world, I would always come back to him because he had my best interests at heart, and he
Mm.
knew where I was coming from. I knew where he was coming from, and I benefited as an actor because I worked with a great acting teacher. Now,
Yeah.
not all acting teachers are great.
Hmm.
Some acting teachers are there because they didn't make it in the world. He was an acting teacher because he made it in the world, but didn't want to do it in the world. He wanted to come into an environment where he could take his knowledge and share it.
That's
And
good.
boy, did he share it! He was amazing. So I don't that you need to go and find that for yourself. It's very difficult. I've seen great actors never attended college, and they're amazing. And the best place to learn is on set. No
That's good.
college, no schooling is going to teach you. It's like being a chef. You can learn the basics, but where are you going to learn to actually cook? Where are you
Yeah,
going
in a
to learn how
restaurant.
to experiment in a kitchen
That's
under
right.
pressure with
Yeah,
somebody throwing cans at you?
that's
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
where you learn. That you
Yeah.
the hard knocks of life, man. That's the best teacher there is. So I got the best of both worlds. I went to a great acting school. I ended up with some of the greatest acting teachers and acting coaches. Um, and then when I went into the real world of acting, I ended up working with some of the early in my career, some of the really influential and really good directors and producers that shaped my decisions and shaped me as an actor. And but at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for you. I don't know what's right for every individual. For me, going to college, I mean, I've been acting for so long before I even got to college. And the thing is, I was a bit of a tyrant when it came to what I wanted to do because I didn't want to do costume. I didn't want to know the history of acting. I didn't even want to do Shakespeare. I would sit in these Shakespearean classes and
Yeah.
go, these are thous and thus, and we should be studying Oliver Stone. We should be studying
Yeah.
Oliver Stone's and learning Oliver Stone scripts because those are but in the long run, each to his own. I'm still not a fan of Shakespeare. I never will be. It's never been something that has gifted me, and I think a lot of the acting fraternity will look down on you. Say yes, but you need to be a Shakespeare. You need to love Shakespeare. If you're a thespian, you need to cool. I'm not on stage doing Shakespeare. I'm on the film screen doing action films. So each to his own. At the end of the day.
Yeah. Unless they rework a Shakespeare into an action film, then
Yeah,
you're on board,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So
So
the weird thing
listen,
is, we
yeah,
actually had to take a Macbeth scene and change it into a different scenario. And I called mine Blackbeth, and I got some of the black actors to redo Macbeth in Harlem, and I called it Blackbeth. It was
I
just a
love it.
dagger I see before me.
Yeah, that's funny.
So,
I love it.
I gained a lot of knowledge at studying acting, but I had already mastered my craft from doing at a very young
Hmm.
age, from about I think I started attending speech and drama classes at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11. I did my first semi-professional musical. I was then involved in speech and drama and debating classes at school. I sucked at sports at school. I was terrible, but I was great at cultural things. So, yeah, I was very lucky that I knew from a very young age what I wanted to do, and I'd already planned my life. I mean, when I was called in my final year of school, the principal called me and said to me, "You do realize, Mr. Auret, you were a candidate for failure." And I was like,
Mm,
"I don't need science to become an actor. I don't need maths to become an actor. Oh, and guess what? I don't need biology or history to become an actor. So guess what?
right.
If I fail, I ain't coming back anyway because I was going to do what I was going to do." Um, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the fact that I knew from a very young age what I wanted to do. I hated school. I hated school, and I sucked at school so badly. Oh,
Yeah,
but
I can agree with that for sure.
it served its purpose.
Yeah. Are you able to lose your accent for a part?
Well, I did a film called uh, uh, London Calling, where I play an Irish brother, and
Oh,
I
I
and I
love
get to
it.
do I've gotten to play a couple American parts as well. So I work in my accents, and sometimes you got to do Russian,
I
sometimes you
love
got to
it.
do Italian, you know what I mean? So or you want to do Greek, So yeah, I
Love
mean,
it.
I get to do a lot of American films in South Africa where we get an American coach. I mean, I had one on London Calling. My dialect coach would call me first thing in the morning and go, "Hello, Brandon. How are you? How did you sleep tonight? You all right? Oh, that's fantastic." Just to tune me in for the
Listen.
day. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, but it's so weird how popular the South African accent is now. You know, there's a South African actor that's in the new, I don't know if I can say it, but in the new Star Trek with a South African accent. The movie that I'm doing now is an American film, American film. Um, but I am a South African ex-special forces dude who's now taken on this journey of doom and gloom. You know what I mean? So fantastic, you know. So, but it's cool. You know, they let us know. I have an American agent, so I often have to audition or do home taping, home tapes, self tapes from South Africa, and most of it is American.
Wow.
And I have a lot of American friends. So if I'm struggling with anything, I'll phone Saudi, say, "Hey, Saudi, don't you just want to read this quickly and just let me hear how you would say it?" And then
Okay.
he would be like, "All right, so we don't say orange, we say orange. All right, orange,
Yeah.
orange. I keep saying orange, orange, orange." You know, so yeah, you got to work on it. It takes a bit of time, but once my ear clicks in, it's in.
Yeah, I'm always really good at that too. I mean, because we travel a lot, and you know, when you're in Scotland and you hear how they say "we" a lot and different things like
Yeah.
that, you know,
You're talking
and
about
that,
the
next thing you know,
Scottish.
you're talking just like them, you know.
Yeah.
11.
Yeah, fools.
Exactly. Yeah, that's funny. Made a we.
Yeah,
So,
when
all
are we?
right. Yeah. So, man, I really appreciate your time. You know, it's the most important thing is I always like to end with is that, you know, there's somebody out there who's watching right now. Maybe you tuned in because you're a fan of Brandon. You're into film. You like the genre. Love the story. These are phenomenal stories. And, you know, one thing that we can't forget is the reason why we're here. You know, that's the main thing is that all this stuff that we do here on earth is just a means to the end, really. And that's the fact that the only thing we can take with us is souls to the other side. And so when you're watching a podcast like this as a viewer, maybe you're listening on iHeartRadio or Spotify or one of the feeds, and you just happen to tune in and you're asking yourself, wow, this is amazing. They mentioned the fact that they have a relationship with Jesus, but I don't know how to do that. How do you do that? Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. You know that each and every one of you has an amazing plan for your life, just like Brandon has a plan from the start. God knew from the beginning what he'd be doing, and he's going to use it for such a purpose that he needs. And so, you know, we all have a plan for our life, and so do you. And the Bible tells us that we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God
Correct.
is eternal life through Jesus
Correct.
Christ. And he also says that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And you know, we're all whosoevers. So, friend, if you're listening to this broadcast right now, I'm just going to say a quick prayer for you. So
Amen.
I'd like you just to bow your head, close your eyes, and just accept this prayer. Say, well, Father God, I pray a special blessing on each and every person listening to this podcast today. I pray, Lord, that you touch them in a special way, that you bless them, Lord, and that you give, as they're listening, that if they want the free gift, the gift of salvation, that they'll repeat after me, say it out loud, but mean it with their heart. So if you're listening today and you want that free gift that God has for you, just say this, say, Dear Lord Jesus, come into my heart, forgive me of my sins, wash me, cleanse me, set me free. Thank you, Jesus, that you died for me. I believe that you've risen from the dead and that you're coming back for me.
Amen.
Fill me with the Holy Spirit. Give me a passion for the lost, a hunger for the things of God, and a holy boldness to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm saved, I'm forgiven, I'm born again, and I'm on my way to heaven because I have Jesus in my heart. And listen, friend, if you said that prayer today, reach out to me. You can go to the Alfanos, that's TheAlfanos.com. And on there, there's a contact button. You can click contact and just reach out. You know, let us know that you said the prayer, and we'd like to get some materials into your hands and, you know, and just help you along with your walk. Now, this is an amazing interview with my good friend here. You know, it's just amazing that Brandon took the time out of his busy schedule to come on to the podcast. We did have some connection issues, and I lost him twice, but it's okay. The
South
point
Africa,
got
brother.
across. He loves what he does. He loves the industry that he's in, but he also knows he's being used by Christ to spread the message of hope to people in a very, very dark world. So, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. I thank you, and I'm looking forward to getting to meet you in person. So, blessings to everybody listening, and that's it for today's podcast.
In Jesus' name.
This broadcast has been brought to you by friends and partners of Alfano Ministries International. Thank you for partnering with us today.